Hello, I'm Dick.
And I'm Eric, and we're the Annuity guys.
Eric, there's a saying out there that figures don't lie. There's another saying that says liars do figure. So let's talk about annuity lies. And there's this mostly comes from high commissions and overzealous agents that like to overstate.
Well, I was going to say, and these are the things that we often hear repeated to us when we're talking to clients that somebody else has told them. So these are things that could be the most common lies that we hear, and it's just people's misconceptions of what.
And hopefully we're hearing them before they've made the decision.
Exactly.
But so often it's not. They're shocked that nobody told them this after they've made this decision. So
the first one I think we want to talk about are the hybrid and fixed indexed annuities. Well, of course they earn market upside with
unlimited
market returns with no downside.
You can get all of the return and you don't have to have any risk.
Why just all the market return? Why don't we get 120% of the market return or 200% of the market return? And that's the biggest challenge. People think I get all the upside of the S&P 500, but you know what? The worst I'll do is take a zero.
Sounds great. A little too good to be true.
I was gonna say, and that's kind of the theme here. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yes, exactly.
So obviously, we're not getting full market upside.
Right.
Yeah. Now the no downside,
that's true.
The zero, that's true.
At least with fixed indexed annuities and the hybrid style.
That's correct.
There's no downside.
So, and that kind of leads into our second common lie, which is really getting to be more and more popular because we have uncapped index strategies that offer, of course, unlimited upside with no downside. They're uncapped, so it's got to be.
Oh, of course, yes. And I mean, the insurance companies are pretty smart. They come out with these little zingers, uncapped index, this type of thing, hand it off to the agents that go crazy with this stuff.
I got that uncapped annuity. It's got to be great. And I'll be honest, I like uncapped annuities.
Yes, they're better.
But there is some limiting factor.
Explain some of those.
Okay, so you've got what are now being, I call them proprietary indexes. You got insurance companies aligning themselves with investment companies, and they're designing what I call volatility controlled indexes. So you're looking at an index that has some sort of, I'll call it braking mechanism automatically.
So a limiting factor built right into the index.
It's built into the index. So you don't have to have a cap. You don't have to have some of these other limiters because the index itself.
So if you've got a raging bull and the Dow is breaking all records, that volatility index is automatically going to
it won't have all the
back.
Same pieces in there. If volatility starts going a little bit more than normal, they're going to move more dollars into either fixed income buckets, bond buckets, some sort of limiting aspect. It could be bonds, commodities. They all have different tweaks and different enhancements that make them perform either good or bad based off of the economic environment. But their limiting factors are built into the index themselves. So when you say it's an uncapped index, boy, it sounds great.
Yes.
But understand that there's something that's going to limit
that upside. You're not going to get all of that upside. A couple of the other things that they do with these uncapped indexes is sometimes they'll limit participation. Or they'll have a spread.
There's something that takes away your ability to get the full upside a lot of the time.
Exactly. Now another one, number 3 on our list. This has been going on for years and years, and we still get it every day.
It's the most common annuity lie, I guess.
I have a 7% floor on my annuity. I can't make less than 7%.
It's because the income rider guarantees, and this is a fancy way of saying, you have to realize, income rider guarantees. And what's that guaranteeing? Future income.
It's a formula. That's all it is.
And it's not your money.
You're not making money on your money. You're not making
the 7% is not your money.
Or 8% or 6%. I mean, how in the world, if banks are paying less than 0.5%, can an insurance company give you a 7% guarantee? It's just, again, too good to be true.
Right now, I can hear everybody running for their policies to say, no, it's a 7% guarantee.
Yes.
And most often, and that flows into our next statement here, because it's usually on a variable annuity. And we always say variable annuities cannot lose money is the other common misconception. Because they got the 7% guarantee.
Right. Or 6% guaranteed payout.
I can't have less than that. Again, it's a formula. It's a formula for future income. It's not your money. You can't walk away with it. Now, you may have some sort of death benefit rider on a variable annuity that will give somebody
Yes,
full
you have to
principal
die.
back.
You have to die to get it.
But it's oftentimes not the full guarantees.
Right,
Once you've started
right.
taking income, all sorts of different things start moving around.
Right.
So variable annuities can, in fact, lose money.
Yeah, they can, and all folks really have to do, Eric, which most folks are negligent of, is read their prospectus. It'll tell you immediately.
It's only
page,
250
on page
pages.
143, you will, not will, but you can lose your money in this investment. It's a true investment in securities. There are safety areas in variable annuities that pay very low interest that you could put your money in, but it still actually is at risk. There's, a variable annuity. That's the nature of a variable annuity. You, as a client, are taking the risk, not the insurance company.
Right. We should say your cash is at risk.
Yes.
When you add those income riders and add those other benefits, you're putting guarantees in place, but the guarantees don't necessarily say that you're going to preserve your principal.
Yes. Before we get on number 5, which we want to spend a little time on, I want to go back on that 7% floor again.
It is the most common.
And I just want to say that if it's fairly explained, properly explained, that it is truly an income formula, and it actually meets retirement objectives, and the customer, the client, understands what it is and how it works. It can be a great enhancement to a retirement.
Well, it's part of what I like to call the Ronco retirement plan. If you like something that has a guaranteed growth mechanism, you're going to use it for future income. You know exactly what you're going to get when you turn on because of those guarantees and those guaranteed roll-ups.
Yes.
Now, that being said, a lot of people think that they're going to be able to go buy their Florida home because they got the 7% guaranteed roll-up. Their money's going to double in 10 years.
That's when it's a rude awakening.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Now the other thing that we don't run into it all the time. But a lot of times the guarantee associations are put on the same level as FDIC.
Right.
And they're just not.
No.
It's not as good as FDIC protection.
Right. Well, of course, FDIC, you've got the federal government's backing, basically, accounts.
Yes. So it's uniform across all states.
Exactly. It's the same standard. You know exactly what you have. Unfortunately, with the guarantee associations, it's state by state.
Right.
Each one's different. They all have different rules and different coverages.
Yes.
It's not even close to FDIC.
No. It's a nice alternative backup, but the fact of the matter is you really should be relying on the claims paying ability of the company. You want a highly rated company. Yeah. And if you look at the track record of the annuity industry in general, it's stellar compared to the banking industry's record. I mean, the banking industry, banks have failed in the thousands during depressions and recessions, and very, very few insurance companies, especially the higher rated ones, hardly ever fail.
And we talk about the reserve ratios. Basically you've got insurance companies that are much more highly reserved. If they owe you $1, they need to have it on reserve someplace. So it's that reserve ratio is really what kind of keeps them in a safety net, unlike the banks, which don't have a much more large percentage of leverage on which they can take and lend out money based off their capital.
So it's not wrong to actually look at and understand the guarantee association for your state, but realize that it has more limitations, more limiting factors, and you really want to focus more on the quality of the company that's supplying the annuity. So, Eric, is this all of the lies out there on annuities?
Heck no. What lies, and more lies?
Yeah, so this is five of the top ones that we run into regularly. But you just really have to do your due diligence. Before you say yes on an annuity, you really want to make sure that you understand at least the basics.